Good morning, Spokane. My name is Cameron Vesey. This will be the first Spokane IDW video. I wish it would be better. I wish I had a better studio. I wish it would be more representative professionally of maybe what Spokane IDW could be. But then again, I think this will be a great evolutionary type, hey, look at where we started, look where we're at. Hopefully, these things get better. So, I think there's a good, and my video and editing abilities and skills are next to none. But hopefully I get an editor or a partner. So I'd like to have that little square box right here, showing the video, and maybe I could get that done. It'd be cool if I get it right here. There's a channel out there called Atheism is Unstoppable. Right, and the guy's okay, dude. He's an all right guy. I enjoy a lot of his videos. Some of them I'm like, So, but just because we disagree on some finite things doesn't mean I can't, still enjoy his opinion or listen to it. And again, the IDW glean some new bit of information that I didn't have before, or perspective that helps me become a better person, or widen my view, or even corrects certain beliefs I had that were false. That's IDW in a nutshell. Also IDW in a nutshell is the discussion. How we go about discussion issues that maybe are taboo or aren't presented right. And so that's why I think this video here, I hope to have maybe someday, is a good starting point. Nick Cannon, who's a fairly popular dude, on TV, on MTV, Mariah Carey, he's married, he gets around, has gone back to college apparently, and anyways, he's talking to a professor. It's an all-black college. Nick Cannon's also black, and he presents a question: is slavery legal? And so the gentleman from Atheism is Unstoppable does the critique of that video like I'm critiquing his video, which I'm not sure I enjoy very much. But if you watch it, the way he goes about critiquing it is the same problem I have with Stefan Molyneux. The point for point makes it feel awfully racist. Now, I don't think he's racist. I really don't. I don't think Atheism is Unstoppable, the guy who runs that channel, or I don't think he is. I mean, I've seen a lot of views, but the way he comes across in this finite one video could easily be offensive or taken as racist. I'm imagining by somebody of color, a black person or whatever, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong in that. Okay, now I disagree with some of the points he makes because I've been to prison. But I also agree with some of the points he makes because the professor and Nick Cannon are taking somewhat of an unnuanced. Sometimes there are members of the black community or the black educational system, or just African Americans randomly floating out there that see the world only through their own periscope, only through as we're blacks and we're oppressed, and so everything is in relation to the oppression they've suffered and the problems they're suffering now. And I disagree with that. I think that's a narrow-minded kind of way of looking at things. Not that there can't be truth in those narrow perspectives, because I do believe the prison system is a form of slavery. I do believe they make very valid points about federal time and state time. But and I'm not sure I agree at all with their criminology is the study of the black man, and sociology. I'm not sure, but I can't speak on that. They don't make it very clear how that is. I think they're just, I don't know the nuances of what they're saying there. So, I'm going to admit that. But it sounds a little biased to me. But I don't know. I'm sure they're, and again, if I heard their whole take on on why criminology is the study of the black man. Well, it could be because African Americans are heavily policed by, and it seemed to be, you know, more of the problem than the solution. But I don't agree with that either. But that's a whole difficult area to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was the fact that I agreed with some of the things that to just write this the way the guy on the Atheism Stop just look at the Constitution. It says it's not. Oh, but look at the hat this guy's wearing. Man, it's shallow, and I don't believe it does the conversation any good. Even though I don't believe the guy's racist, he could so come across as being kind of racist about the way he picks apart their video and blah blah blah. Whereas I do think they're wrong on certain levels about but I also think they have valid points in the way white collar people get rehabilitated, and then African Americans just get sent into a kennel and survival of the fittest, and then set back on the street, and somehow they're expected to, turn into white people or something. I don't know. Again, there is a problem in our prison system and in our criminal system, and it could be weigh heavily. It could weigh more heavy the unfairness, the biases towards the African American community. Absolutely. I'm sorry, but I've done some research on that part. And the 80s, Reagan is responsible for the crack laws and all that heavily punished the African American community. But the Clintons imprisoned more blacks than anybody based off those laws. So there's a whole time period in recent American history where African Americans were being oppressed by our government. There's no way you can talk me out of that. Now, I say let's get over that. Let's redo our criminal system and see on rationale, on reason, not on it's not simple. But in my opinion, the 80s, those laws, enslaved, because prison is slavery. Prison is a form of slavery in the fact that if I don't do what that guard says verbally, if I simply don't enact what that guard's personal opinion about what I should be doing at that moment is, he can physically assault me until I comply. That's slavery, in my opinion. Okay? But then again, we're all slaves to some ideology, to some government. We're all slaves. We are all slaves. All right? We all have boundaries that limit our behavior. We all have boundaries that limit what freedoms we can actually, and nobody wants a boundless. We all would like to be slaves to higher ideas. That's something we all want to be a slave to. We all want to be slave to, I hate to say it like this, altruistic beliefs. That's not the worst thing to be a slave to. It can be corrupting, but so we're all slaves. How about that? But there are institutions in our government that people are slaves to that have no honor, that have no beneficial side to that slavery. And I'm not sure that's a good way to do it either. So you can critique this video, and I'm going to admit, maybe I didn't quite state that right, or maybe my perspective right now on that wasn't as thorough, or I didn't nuance it as well as I'd like to. But really, I don't like the fact they said, well, slavery is illegal. Where? So if we look at the women's pay gap, and equality, I say that's a perfect place where you can point to the Constitution and say, look, the Constitution says these people need to treat you equally, or you can petition the government and say, look, they've wronged me. That's there. But a person in prison you know, can't so easily say, "Look, I'm enslaved here. It's cruel and unusual punishment, this slavery I'm in," and expect to get the same. Uh, it's not the same. Okay, so yeah, I do believe that women are equal. I do believe African American citizens who have a clean record, which I don't, so I'm not judging. I don't have a clean record. Uh, who get to vote, have a say, are part of. I believe that's all stated fair in the Constitution. But the issue of prisons and how our citizens are being treated, even our criminals, I think our criminals should be treated in an American way versus, So the point being is, I believe that the way he goes about presenting his views could be offensive to a lot, and it doesn't help. Stefan Molyneux does the same crap. He not saying necessarily you're wrong. I think he is to a certain degree on this one, but the way you go about stating your differences is important. And I'm not saying being politically correct. I'm saying doing it in a compassionate way where you're open to the possibility of the other side. And I do think they make valid points. I've thought about it. Of course, I've been in the prison system, so I understand it to a little better degree. And yeah, to say the prison system doesn't treat its inmates as if they were slaves is inherently false. They do. That is slavery. That is almost. But what we get into are legal definitions of, because like as soon as you're convicted of a crime and you're stripped of your liberties, you're stripped of some of your rights, like the right to vote, right? You are stripped of some of your rights as soon as you become a criminal or a convict or convicted. Now, what rights are we stripped of? As a society, are we stripped of the right not to be enslaved? Right? Do we retain that right? Well, so now we get to the constitutional right to be free of cruel and unusual punishment. Well, is slavery cruel and unusual punishment? This is where the conversation needs to be. To say there's no slavery in the United States because, hey, the Constitution says you can't do it, it's just ignorant and without nuance, and it just seems, it could feel awfully racist to me, and that's why I disagree. I don't disagree with him stating this. If he wants to say, well, he could do it in a manner that didn't feel so racist. And I think when he makes fun of the guy's hat, I think it's like, oh, well, show what's that got to do with what they're talking? What does a man's hat, as long as it's not saying, like okay, so I'm suddenly thinking of West and his Make America Great Again hat. That hat, I could see you going, well, that hat might say something about the wearer. But the hat Nick Cannon has on it, it's just a fashion statement. It might be a little ideological statement, but it's just a fashion thing. It's just something he put on that morning, in my opinion. So I don't think you can bring that hat into the conversation. Because somebody dresses weird. Is Cam Newton a bad quarterback because he's a flashy dresser? No. He's a bad quarterback because he gives up on his team. Whoa, football talk there. Russell Wilson, nice dresser, great dresser, never gives up on his team. There might be a correlation. Damn it. I'm joking. When you start making fun of the appearance of somebody as if that relates to their argument or their position, again, that just feels like racism. And I'm stating it again. I don't think this gentleman is actually racist. Well, I don't. I just don't think he realizes the way he comes across. Or if he does realize the way he comes across can be taken that way, and he still does it, well, now you are, aren't you? To some degree. It's hard. None of the questions are easy. So, this is my first Spokane IDW video. I might do another one caveating what the channel's about and things like that. But I wanted to put something on because on Spokane IDW, my name's Cameron Bessie. If you've watched this up to this point, thank you so much. feel free to comment below. I'll probably be posting this in my IDW Facebook group. That's, because they listen to me to some degree, which is nice. So anyways, good morning, everyone. If you're not having a good day, I hope your day gets better, and be well. Thank you.